For a very fascinating story. I don't think I have a story like him to narrate. So if you want to go to bar, it's open for you. So I think Suresh has made my job a little more difficult because he tried to tell me that you must talk about the economy and where India is going. And I think, as you all know, forecasting and predicting is fraught with risk and a very risky business. All of us are watching football. Pele said in late 70s that an African team will win the World Cup by 2000. And see, they haven't even made to semi-finals. It's not that Pele was wrong. The African team and their talent is absolutely on dot. Today, even as we speak, there are 50 African origin players in different teams outside Africa. I think what Pele didn't realize that it's not the player or the actor who decides. It is the ecosystem as important. I think Africa could not provide the ecosystem which is required to create a world-class team. And that applies to industry and countries as well. So I think when we speak about India, where India will go, it's very difficult to predict. So what I would rather not like to hazard any guesses how the economy will unfold. But what I can do is talk about the mega trends and how the mega trends impact us and how we as industry leaders can leverage those mega trends. Well, India, if you look at it, has always been a story of false steps, number of false steps. I think we have always dazzled to deceive. Right, for last 40 years, we have been touted as a next big economy, but hasn't happened. We had our share of brilliant, I think what we did in IT is unbelievable. We built up a $200 billion industry from nowhere. What we did in green revolution, white revolution, unbelievable. What we did in telecom, I think we achieved in 10 years what US did achieve in 100 years. So I think they're all very positives. But we are not consistent, and I think always things have gone wrong. Then what makes me that this time things will be better? I think we have to look at it, the whole thing holistically. The biggest positive factor which is in favor of India is geopolitical alignment. If you look at the tiger economies, if you look at China, all the growth was driven by the geopolitical alignment. The US and the entire Western world was trying to help them to build because they wanted to create a counter to the rest of in a Cold War regime. I think today, I'd say a lot of you guys must have read the book Alchemist. It's India's Alchemist movement. All stars are aligning the way they should align. And that alignment is going to give you a huge opportunity because as a result of this alignment, the China plus one thing has come up. All of us keep talking about it. Now look at China. They export almost $370 billion worth of, $3.7 trillion worth of exports. We are less than 10%. If you could even get 10% share from there, you would have doubled your exports. So the opportunity is huge and somebody is trying to help you with that. So that is one mega trend I think we can't ignore. And what I'll do is I'll share in my own limited way how we are trying to leverage the megatrend, and all of us have to perhaps work towards that. The second big megatrend is the climate crisis. Now, you can look at it as a threat or as an opportunity. The predictions are saying that about $7 trillion worth of investment will come in India from now till 2050. Now, just imagine if that kind of money comes in the economy, the rub-off it has on the industry is huge. The opportunity of what renewables offers to us is phenomenal. On top of it, if you look at the biggest bane of Indian economy has been the crude import, the fossil fuel import. All our problems of inflation, all our problems of balance of payment, I think the path may be difficult, but if we reach the end of net zero, if by 2040, 50-60% of my energy comes from non-fossil fuel, I think we would have licked the problem of balance of payment. There's a prediction, McKinsey says the cost of power will come down by 1 rupee in 2050 values. So virtually you're halving your cost of power. Now imagine, whenever we talk about India being uncompetitive, we talk of 2 or 3 things. We talk about power, we talk about inflation, we talk about currency. I think moment you do these things right, there is a huge opportunity. Now I go one step beyond. The green energy is again a very mineral intensive business. Putting solar is not easy. A solar power requires 3 to 4 times more minerals than a normal boiler and power plant will require. So what does it mean? The world will require, even if you go by today's lithium and cobalt deposits, they won't last you till 2030 also. If you go by the current consumption of copper, you won't have copper in next 10 years. You will fall 25% short on your copper demand. All the minerals you're talking about are not going to be there. You talk about wood resources, you talk about... So the issue is the world has to start looking at recycle in a big way. What we call circular economy. At the end of the day, you have to start recycling back. You cannot dump a car into junk. You can't dump aluminium after using into... They are almost recyclable materials. E-waste, 50 million tons of e-waste. The amount of gold you can get from e-waste, the amount of copper you can get from the e-waste is huge. And one thing is given, any recycle industry is highly labor intensive. And that's where India scores. You may do any technology, but ultimately you have to sort out, you have to segregate, you have to chop off. So to my mind, the second thing, the rub-off of this whole green revolution is circular economy. And that could be a huge opportunity for the Indian industry. If you build up the right supply chains, I think India can be a global capital for circular economy, whether it is textiles, whether it is metals, whether it is minerals. Fourth factor, I think, which I think is very important in the Indian context is, I think, whatever Mr. Swaroop is the best person, he talked about the government, but I think right now, there are a couple of things which are happening right. We have found a very elegant solution to the problem of World Trade Organization. This whole PLI scheme, 2 lakh crores worth of PLI scheme is a very nice way of giving an industry, supporting them in gestation time. If you can do that, you can get the right scales. I think the industry has to build the right scales, right, and then you can get the right cost structure. So to my mind, macroeconomically, I think there are few things happening which will make India hopefully succeed unless something really goes wrong. To my mind, if ever there is an opportunity of succeeding, this is the time. What I would like to do is how we are trying to leverage, and every business is different. So there is no one size fits all. What I do in my business will not work in your business. But what perhaps we can think of is that only a theoretical concept, or is there a practical way of doing it? So I'll just share with you. I used to, before I moved to my current job, I was to run a textile business, which was the Grasim Industries. And in that business, how we have used these opportunities to create a competitive advantage. So I'll just share with you that if possible. How do I get it? Slides? Oh, sorry, yeah. So, like I was saying, environmental sustainability, can you hear me? That's fine. As an opportunity, now we had a viscose fiber business which is made from wood pulp. It makes, a lot of women will know for the women's attire, it's an outstanding fiber, very soft fiber. It is renewable feedstock, whereas polyester is made from fossil fuel. But the problem with that, it had a production chemistry which was very hazardous chemicals. And it was labeled very badly, because in the Second World War, it was started in Germany when they had no cotton, they started viscose. So the image was very, had a problem. What we repositioned the entire business onto a green basis. I said, look, this is one business, there is a green feedstock, there is a green product, there is a great application. Problem is manufacturing. We said we can rectify that. We committed $170 million investment only in closed looping. So we said there is no effluent will go out from this product. So a lot of money went. But I think by making one part of the value chain viable, the entire business became a green business. And what did it do? Cotton, all of us thought was is a natural product, but cotton is the most unviable product. The amount of land you require for cotton, world doesn't have. The amount of water required for cotton, it's 15 to 20 times more than what you require for viscose. The amount of pesticide you use for cotton. So the world did not know. So I think we started educating that, look, there is an issue about sustainability. What you think is sustainable is not sustainable, and what you don't think is sustainable. What we did was, we said, okay, let's start end-to-end sustainability. So where do I source my feedstock from? So we got an NGO. You audit the companies and tell us who is the most sustainable supply chain. And this Canadian NGO ultimately found our business. They give dark green shirt, light green shirt, yellow shirt, red shirt, and they gave us a dark green shirt. Whereas all the Chinese guys got yellow shirt. All the Indonesian guys got yellow shirt. Now what happened? We could deny a competition access to market. Now Zara can't go and buy with a yellow shirt. Or Zara can't go and buy with a red shirt. They have to buy with the green shirt. Now we can, the whole, if you look at you create a disadvantage into advantage, an opportunity. Then we said, okay, we had a factory. Every year that factory used to stop for 2 months because of lack of water. We worked on a zero water scheme. First time we made a viscose plant with 20% of the total water consumption. Not only I got my water consumption right, my sustainability claim became better. The factory has never stopped in the last 6 years. Every year, 2 months it used to stop. So the amount of money you make by running a factory for 2 months more makes a huge difference. I'm trying to say, if you look at the problem from a different perspective, you find different solutions. I could have always said there's a big problem, it's a compliance issue. Mr. Birla gave me so much of investment. He didn't do that. Then we said, okay, I'll talk about circular fashion again. We did that also. And third, then we said, okay, let us see what cotton has but viscose does not have. And that is something we started from, I call a flask to factory. We started from a basic process. And in 10 years' time, we have developed a process where viscose has the same quality of cotton, but does not have that pesticide, does not have that water. What have I done? We have opened a 5 times bigger market. So what did we do? Once I got an eco labels certificate, we launched a product called Liva Eco. And first time, we got a 20 to 30% premium on the normal fibers. So people say nobody pays for eco-friendly, people do pay for it, as long as there is a compelling logic. So we got a premium on our product. We pioneered the idea of circular fiber because fashion industry is the second most polluting industry after oil. 90 million tons plus of fabric and cloth gets dumped every year. We picked up all the pre and post consumer wastes because cotton is a stronger fiber than viscose. When I remix it, it becomes same strength as viscose. So we became a sink for cotton. And in the whole process, we developed a fiber we call Liva Reviva. And then we were getting up, it was showcased at the London Fashion Show and at the COP26 it was showcased. So we could get a premium on that. But third is most important. By getting those green shirts, by getting those certifications, we had a very big low-cost competition in Indonesia, which is all the government support. But just because 50 years back, he had deforested the whole plantation. He had moved communities. He could not get that certificate. So we denied market access to somebody who could have really destroyed the business. So no branded company can buy from somebody who has done these kinds of things. So I think this is what one has to look at, creating competitive advantage. And by developing a fiber which is as good as cotton, we developed the market. Viscose is a 6 million ton market. Cotton is 25 million ton market. We opened the business 4 times more. So, in a way, converting a constraint to opportunity. The second point was this China plus one. I think all of us talk about it, but it's very important. It will not come easy. China, if you all must, all of you are so accomplished, must have seen China. It's not easy to match them. But what we did was, we really mapped everything which China exports and which I don't export. Everything which China makes, I don't make. And then we found out that we don't have technology. We can't make those products. And we keep saying we'll get the China plus one. And we found that in India, if you see in textile, there is a woven and the woven and the knit fabrics. China dominates on knits. India dominates on woven. So we said in India, if one leader starts, it gets replicated very fast. So we took upon us as a leader to bring in best-in-class technology, get knits which are as good as Chinese knits, which have shrinkage lower than Chinese knits, and we will convert the entire market from China to India by creating a capability on the ground. And in India, if one guy creates the capability, 100 guys will follow tomorrow. And that's how, so we have got a next growth engine for our business. Knits, China exports 2,000 tons per day. We do 200 tons per day. So just by doing that, you could do 10 times. Third, I think, is Suresh spoke about the digitization. But I always say, we always talk of, we get into jargons very fast. Now, digitization for the heck of it is not going to help you. Digitization, just because talking IoT, you have to see what advantage it is creating for you. I call it idiosyncratic digitization. It has to be designed for your process and your plant. You just can't put number of IoTs, number of digital thing, and what will you do? Your efficiency of the plant goes from 97% to 98%. 1% doesn't make a difference. China can cut you by 10%. So what we did in our business is, we said where I can create a competitive advantage. So what I found that in the fashion industry, people are very worried about if somebody is buying in Harrods or in a Zara shop in London, they want to know if this jacket or this gown, is it made in a sweatshop? Is it made in an unsustainable way? So what I did was we applied blockchain. So moment my wood is cut in the forest in Canada, I would give it a unique number. And the whole blockchain was tracing it till the time it goes to the end shop. And there was a QR code. You scan the QR code and you can find there itself that every step of the process has been sustainable and has been done in the most ethical way. By doing that, again we got huge market share, because this was a proprietary technology, everybody could not do it. People could do it from fabric to garment stage, but nobody could do from fiber to fashion. I used to call it fiber to fashion chain, and we did end to end. So that digitization is something which created a huge advantage. Second, I think in India, all of us know, if you say a textile value chain, the fiber guys are very big. Reliance makes polyester, we make viscose, cotton, we are the biggest in the world. But the guys who really convert that into fabric are the weavers, which are 3, 4, 5 lakh small weavers. They have no scale. They can't do innovations. We applied digitization to get, we called LAPF, Levi Accredited Partner Forum. So all those weavers, we got them integrated through digital value chain. And we set up a R&D center only for the customers, not for ourselves. So we have our own, we had 5 R&D centers. One R&D center we called TRADC, which was doing research for the downstream. I would do research for a weaver, I would do research for a fabricator, I would do research for a garmenter also. And by doing that, we created the market, we grew market threefold. In the whole process, every partner of the value chain benefited. So that is how we use the digital and India needs that. India has, everybody, an organized sector is much bigger than the organized sector. And if you have digital in the right way, you can integrate and create a huge scale. Third is, I think, having done 1 and 2, the third is a work in progress. But if you look at typically how a fashion value chain works, Zara wants to make a jacket and launch it in this season. He will go to his buying house. Buying house will go to the fabricator, to the garmenter. Garmenter will go to fabricator. End to end, it takes 90 days from India. Chinese do it in 30 to 32 days. Now, once you have a digital platform, because I created a digital platform end to end, you can just have your partners. Zara can put on your website, I want X million pieces at this price. Let all your partners do an online bidding, like an open bidding, and you can do what is happening in 90 days, you can do, perhaps do in 1 or 2 days, you can finish out the bidding. You can condense the time. So what Mr. Swarup was saying, speed is important. I think the value of speed. I think speed to market, we have to trade off cost with speed. Sometimes Zara now launches 24 designs in a year. That means 15 days every design comes. They have factories in China, the transit time is 30 days. So you are often missing out, they have to airfreight the stuff. So I think you have to see the end-to-end cost, not at the cost of production itself. And finally, it makes a lot of sense to have speed at the cost of little higher production cost. And on that basis, I don't know whether you've seen that, I'll say, Adidas has put what they call speed factories. These factories are decentralized factories. Earlier they used to put the plants in the lowest cost, China, Vietnam. This is nothing. Today, speed is important, innovation is important, so they have put all the automated factories with online, with 3D printing, with AutoCADing. They have brought down the whole time frame from months to days. And they can change design, speed to market, and I think the whole game is changing. It's a matter of time. What digitization will do is will create the country advantage will get removed. It will get very, very distributed kind of manufacturing world over. And So fundamentally what I was saying is, rather than an activity-based digitization, we must go for an outcome-based digitization. That's the first thing. You understand what you want, what your process is, and then design it for that, rather than taking a off-the-shelf solution. Even getting the first one, IBM could not do it for me, Microsoft could not do it for me. Finally, we had to get in some small freelancers from Bangalore, and we worked it out that way, because they will want to sell an off-the-shelf solution. That's how it works. Third, I think very important, which we as Indians have to understand is this: we always bring down everything to what I call molecule selling. That I tell people that I am selling sulfuric acid, I am selling viscose fiber, I am selling this. We don't sell value. At the end of the product I sell does a work. And I always give the example of sulfuric acid at 98% is X rupees. You purify it to make battery grade, becomes 3x rupees. You make it to purify to make electronic grade, becomes 10x. Every specialty chemicals understand this very well, but we don't understand this in other businesses. I think we need to understand this power of value. So viscose, first company, we learned from Intel Inside. We said, no, I will not call it a viscose fiber, I will call it a Leva brand. That when I say that you are wearing a great jacket, the fiber inside that is Leva. You don't ask me it's viscose, it's cotton, doesn't matter. I'll give you A, B, C, D, E benefits. So it's about benefit selling. I think all of us have to understand. I think in India we haven't understood the power of branding. I have done a study, a lot of them which are reserved for small scale sector in India are the biggest money churners in USA, because they are able to protect them through IPR. They're able to protect them through branding. So I think something which you need to do very strongly is the manufacturing has to understand the value of service and branding. And I think that's the way you have to create value. And wage arbitrage versus value-added manufacturing. A very classic case is Turkey, if you take. Turkey, manpower costs are 2 to 3 times the Indian manpower. Their currency is in a mess. Every 5 years there is a thing happens. They have a most unstable political system. But they are able to service the best of the customers in Europe. The textile industry is the most competitive industry. So we can't, they also can blame the government, they can blame, but they don't do, because they understand that the product they are making, the quality they are making is outstanding. Customers wait and they ultimately go back to them. So I think investing in the right technology and right frame of mind is what is very important. And to my mind, we all of us have to proactively obsolescence. We must make our own products obsolete and try to innovate, and that is something which goes on and on. Yeah. So I think if I have to summarize, and it's more manufacturing driven, so if there are some service industry people I wouldn't, but this is largely manufacturing driven. I think what we need to do, one is we need to build global skills. Whatever you do, it's important. I think the second point is very important. We always believe that I should develop everything in-house, do myself. I think we must understand it is always better to inorganically acquire knowledge than organically develop it, if it is possible. So like when we acquired Novelis, we knew that that know-how will take me years to develop. So we had a bulk aluminum business, which was much smaller. We acquired a 3x size company, but we got the technology from that company. So we have to understand, it is today if you go to cement, Germany, the Indian cement consumption is 10 times the German cement consumption. Ultratech cement consumption is 4 times Germany as a country. But all the know-how comes from Germany. Every equipment, every instrument, everything comes from there. So I think it is knowledge which drives the value rather than the volume which drives the value. So I think we need to have market access and know-how very important. Whatever we do, I think the cost curve, we must build global cost curves. We never build local cost curves. And we must always make sure you are in top 2 or top 3 in the global cost curve. We call it top 10 percentile. I think that's something which was, whatever happens, the cost will see you through at the end of the day. Well, supply chain, I think I use this word, we have always looked at supply chain as a cost reducing. I think I call it agile, adaptable, aligned supply chain, AAA supply chain. I think today cost is a given. The supply chains have to deliver agility, deliver adaptability, because today black swan events are happening every 3rd day. Look at the number of black swan events which have happened in last, it will be 10 to 20 times more. So I think we need to develop supply chains which are far more, which are based on risk mapping. You map your risks. There is a very classic case when Japan-Korea trade war happened. Japan used to supply a small chemical to Samsung. $160 million turnover. But they're the only supplier. And by blocking that, the Samsung's some $50 billion mobile phone business came to a standstill. Now, that is where the importance of supply chain adaptability and mapping is important. They never mapped that. This is a small amount. When you say ABC, it's a Z category. But even a Z category also can stop the main supply. So I think it's very important to have build supply chains. And with the partnerships. I spoke about Industry 4.0, but the second point is very important, the cross-industry learning. I moved from FMCG to chemicals. When I moved in my earlier job, chemicals industry will say capital output ratio is 1. Where FMCG only works on how negative working capital. But believe it or not, because I had that mindset, I could replicate that in a chemical business. So I think it's very important because you go without any baggage and it works. So I think it's always good to get some lateral thinking into a process. Again, see, it's about what I spoke about, the environmental compliance. See, this sustainability, you can take it as a compliance, or you take it as that I will shape the whole industry. I will take leadership. It makes a difference. I think we chose from compliance to shaping the agenda. You shape the agenda, you will drive the industry in a different way. We went ahead and built up global standards. And I think the last one is very important. At the end, people matter. So I think the discretionary effort of the people is what makes a difference. So I think that it comes through your. Yeah. I will not go much deeper into it, but I say one thing which we as an industry have to understand. In today's world, and more with climate crisis, the black swan events are increasing too much. The natural disasters have grown 10x fold than before. I think risk mapping and risk and management and risk analysis is the most important part of the business. It should become a part of the business process. And then design your system based on that. So I think there are various ways of doing it. But the idea I'm leaving behind with this thing is, this is a Samsung theory. The chairman keeps asking, where is the next lurking danger? Where is the next risk is going to come? You must keep always looking for the next disaster and then plan accordingly so that you're not caught unawares. And this is what I was talking about, the Adidas factory, where look at the transition. From time to market, 18 months, they go, and let me be honest, this experiment has failed. They're going to shut those factories. But it failed because they didn't analyze properly. But it's a matter of time, 10 years later, this will become the way of doing business. They reduce time from 18 months to less than a week. Employees 1,000 to 160. Low factor, so location becomes, so nobody will ever go to China and put a factory if this kind of thing works. And if you want to see how their factory looks like, I'll just show you. There was one, yeah, I'll just show you this. It doesn't, see, this is how the whole factory comes. So they had, where it takes you months to make model, it was either digital twins, virtual modeling, that saved a huge amount of time. Computerized knitting, all soles were done by 3D printing and kind of a thing. And I mean, it's a great concept. It takes time to refine, but that's the thinking. And the world will go to large number of distributed factories, very efficient and cost effective. So I think these are some of the thoughts I thought I'll share with you. And everyone has to find his own recipe. And I am sure if things go well, India will realize its full potential. Thank you.